Hello, food fans. I am at Chuck E. Cheese's today. I've never been here before. This is kind of hidden away from most people's view. It's behind the Target store, but it's a huge interior space, probably 5,000 square feet or more, and they have very low prices. Large cheese pizza, which I got here today. This is a big pizza, probably 12 inches diameter. And I got the plain cheese with tomato sauce, the way I like it. And this is $5. And I just took a can of Pepsi. Get on there, let them see the logo on the Pepsi. A can of Pepsi to go with it. It is cheesy, very cheesy, and a very good tasting pizza. A very big pizza for only $5 at a takeout place. That's quite a bargain, I do believe. I've been mowing my lawn. Very hot today, about 96 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll be coming back here if they stay in business. I was the only customer in there for a while. Then one other customer came in, and when I left, no customer was in there. Looks like they have a lot of games for people to play and stuffed animals for sale. Quite good. Sip of Pepsi, sip of Pepsi, sip of Pepsi, sip of Pepsi. Open it like that. And it is cold, which is good for today. Pepsi and pizza, or pizza and Pepsi. Thought I'd talk a little bit today about some of the people I've met or seen. I didn't actually meet these people. Talk about the 4 presidents I saw. I think I'll eat about half this pizza for the video. Save the other half for tomorrow, put it in the refrigerator. 4 presidents I saw, late 1950s and the year 1960. Probably about 1958 was when I saw the only sitting president that I ever saw. That's Dwight Eisenhower. He rode in the back of what I'll call a limousine convertible, real long convertible, similar to what President Kennedy was in. When you see the video of President Kennedy in Dallas, the long Lincoln limousine with the convertible back. Except President Eisenhower was in a white limousine convertible standing up in the back. And it was probably about a 1950 to 52 model Lincoln Cosmopolitan. Beautiful car. And they just announced over the radio that President Eisenhower would be in town on that day, and that he would be traveling on 7th Street. He was heading in a western direction on 7th, and I was on the sidewalk as were lots of other people. And we knew when he would come by, and he was waving at the crowd. And no security concerns whatsoever. Definitely a different era. Then in 1960 they held the Democrat convention at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, and I lived in downtown Los Angeles, and I walked by the Biltmore quite often. One day in 1960, by the way, 1960 is when they had the convention, and they would have the election in October of 1960, so this is probably July of 1960, I'm guessing. And as I was walking past the Biltmore Hotel one day during the time that the Democrat convention was going on, no one really expected John Kennedy to win. I think they thought Stuart Symington or Hubert Humphrey, somebody else would win. But as I was walking by the hotel, a car pulled up to the curb. It was a convertible, and a man standing up in the back jumped out of the car, sort of jumped over the side as it came to a stop. They might have been 20 feet ahead of me, 20 feet away from me. As I was walking toward him, I probably was within 10 feet of John Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I knew who he was. I knew he was a senator, but I did not expect that he would win the nomination and then win the presidency. So later in 1960, in October of 1960, I moved to New York City. And while I was in New York City, I saw two big public gatherings where people stood on the streets and sidewalks and watched as people gave speeches. And the people giving speeches at one of the gatherings was President Eisenhower and Vice President Nixon appearing together in a big crowd. And again, no real safety concerns. Chuck E. Cheese's cheese is quite good. Then another gathering in New York City, I saw Senator John Kennedy and Senator Lyndon Johnson giving speeches together. Big crowd. Those are the only four presidents I've seen, and only one of them was president when I saw him. I'll give you a bit of trivia here. President Eisenhower, whose vice president was Richard Nixon, President Eisenhower and Vice President Nixon each did something that's pretty amazing that I don't think any other presidents have done. What did they do? They each shot a hole-in-one on a golf course. Speaking of golf and vice presidents and presidents, President Nixon, when he was president, had a friend with whom I worked twice, Jackie Gleason, wonderful entertainer. If you want to see an interesting story, just search for President Nixon, Jackie Gleason, alien. Supposedly, President Nixon let Jackie Gleason see one of the aliens. I'm not making it up. And I'm definitely not doubting it. I'll give a recommendation to Chuck E. Cheese's. Very courteous service too. If you live in the area of Nashville where Gallatin Pike meets Myatt, a little bit north of there, and a little bit west, there's a Target, and behind the Target is Chuck E. Cheese's. I did read a story about Chuck E. Cheese's having some financial difficulties. So I don't know what their situation is. I certainly would not have any qualms about giving a recommendation to them. Their pizza's good, their service is good. I was expecting a much smaller pizza, even though they call it large. I thought it'd be about maybe a 10-inch diameter. For the fans of Feature Man, if you search my channel, Feature Man, at YouTube, then you go to the community tab, you'll find that I put up a lot of polls, P-O-L-L-S, polls. Like, I think my most recent one is, if a TV show is started during the COVID quarantine, people have to stay at home and they're watching TV, what type of TV show would they watch? Would the lead actor be, and then the choices I give them, we're limited to 5 choices. My 5th choice is usually other. What would the lead actor be in a TV show that people would watch? Would it be a doctor, or a detective, or a superhero, or a zombie, or other? I have lots and lots of questions in the community tab. I'll eat one more of these slices, and then I'll head home, save the rest of the pizza for tomorrow. I'll keep it in the refrigerator overnight with the plastic bag covering it. And tomorrow I'll put it in a toaster oven. I don't like reheated pizza from a microwave. I prefer it just toast in a toaster oven. Good, good, good. Somebody just drove past. Now, speaking of Jackie Gleason, I did work with him in Sting 2. When we worked at the working title was The Next Sting. And I worked with him in Smoking the Bandit 2. He's a very nice person. The first time I saw him in person would be the 1940s, before he was famous. Lived in Hammond, Indiana. We went to Chicago one day. We watched a movie that had a stage show for an opener, and the opener was Jackie Gleason. He weighed about 300 pounds and he did a cartwheel. He was a very funny man. And I enjoyed working with him very much. He was very pleasant. I talked with other people who had worked with him who had good stories to tell about him. Good food here. And it's hot. I would bet you could fry an egg on the sidewalk right now. Not that you would want to. This is good. Thank you for watching.